what was the Buddha? You know, if it were about him only, then the story would have ended. But it's never about the story. It's not just about him. It's about the Dhamma. The reason why we honor the Buddha today, the reason why we remember him, that he matters. The reason for that is because the teaching that he left behind continues to be effective in helping us. Because it continues to be effective in helping us do what? Resolve the pain in our mind. Because it continues to help us resolve the pain in our mind, that it works, then we remember him. Because every time you feel that relief, who do you say thank you to? Buddha. That's the reason why all those of you who have truly understood his Dhamma, truly understood what he taught, and make it a part of your life, for those of you, your gratitude towards him, to him, it's immeasurable. Okay? So what did he teach? He taught people how to overcome the negativities in their minds so that they can experience happiness, unconditioned bliss, and unconditioned joy. Let me explain this. Negativities, big word, so many syllables, ayo. What it means is our instincts, our negative instincts, our craving, our anger, our jealousy, our fear, our tendency to resent when things don't go our way, to covet someone else's things, to covet things that we don't have, and so on and so forth. So many negativities, so many adjectives. Those of you who are has such a powerful command of English would be able to sit here and rattle off until tonight the list of things that can be negative emotions, negative instincts, negative this and other in the mind. If we can purge those instincts, then we will be happy. Fair? No. Fair. That's the trick question. The answer is yes. Okay? And his mission for 45 years was essentially to teach the methodology, a methodology of helping individuals overcome their negative instincts. Once that's done, they are happy. For sure. Okay? So, now, I want you to note the word. I used 3 words here, the method, the way, the path. Path and way are very similar. It's a method and a path. Okay? What's the significance of these two? They're not the same word. A method implies a system of training, a package of training. There are steps. There is a framework. It is not one thing, it's a series of things to do. But Buddha himself consistently calls it a path, a way. Magga, the word magga means path, implying that it is a journey. Progress, it's a process. A process whereby the individual starts to change gradually. This is a journey of self-discovery, or a journey of understanding the mind. It takes time. It takes effort. It will not happen overnight. For those of you who think that you can enter the stream like this overnight, think again. Sometimes it takes a bit more than just overnight. Maybe 2 nights. Okay? But it takes more than that. And the Buddha himself puts it as happiness in this life and next. What does it mean by in this life and next? The significance of the word is in this life. In this life, if you get the understanding correct, and if you got the practice nailed, you should be happy. Therefore, if you are not happy, you did not nail it. Fair? That's the answer. And it was a trick question. Because it's supposed to be like that. Okay? If, I repeat, actually I can't repeat. It's not easy to repeat. The point is, if you find that you are not happy, then you cannot say that I'm a student of the Buddha, but you didn't get his method right. For all you know, you didn't even practice his method. I don't know what method you practice, but not his method. So it didn't work. Then you may rather smugly or sneakily ask me, say something like, so his method works. Of course it works. The whole bunch of practitioners will tell you it works. Then you say, it didn't work for me, leh? The method, you get the method right. That's the point. So your measurement for yourself on whether you're on the right track of the Buddha's path is whether you are happier now after you have started, or are you more stressed? Some people get more stressed. I need to know the Dhamma. I have to know the Dhamma. I don't know the Dhamma. I'm very stressed. Dhamma stress. Also have. So salah, what is salah, okay? Okay, now the next question. So the teaching is, I repeat, it's a methodology, it's a method, it's a system of training as well as a process. It takes time, it is gradual, but it will happen for you if you get it right. Subsequent lectures, today is the only day that we're going to talk about the Buddha. Next week onwards, there'll be many, many lectures on the method. You have a method coming out of your ears by the end of the day, okay? Okay. Next question is, who did he teach? To whom did he teach, okay? Anyone who wanted to see Dhamma. In the early days when he started, he threw in one more criteria and could see Dhamma. But subsequently, this criteria was not important. If you are very sincere and you seek the path and you want to know where this path leads to, you come to him, he will teach you. That's all he asks, that you are sincere, that you seek the path and you want to see Dhamma. Seek the path is to see Dhamma. Don't seek the path, go don't know where. Okay? Seek the path is to see Dhamma. No discrimination. This is a significant point. Today we don't realize it. But in the time of the Buddha, this is a big thing. You know the people that he taught, the youngest was 7. He didn't put an age limit, but they just happened to be all 7. I suspect they didn't count the birthdays properly. So anyone that can't start to talk well enough, 7. So all the young little arahants, 7, only 7 years old. Again, I don't think they counted the birthday and made it an official 80. But there was a very old man. He was so old, nobody wanted him. Seriously, nobody wanted to admit him into the order. They all said, "Ay, 老了leh." Very old. And then the Buddha actually said, any of you remembered him being kind to you just once? Return the favor and admit him. So guess who did it? Never read my book, y'all. See, proof. Sariputta admitted him. Well done. After I give you chocolate. Okay? Okay, you get chocolate also. Don't fight over chocolates. Okay. The second lot of people that he taught Dhamma to was women. And this is very big because in ancient India, woman was at the bottom of the social totem pole. You are lower than the sacred cow. So it's man, okay, then cow, then you. You're very low. The assumption in that society, the assumption in that ancient society is woman can't understand dharma, their language, Vedic language, dharma. Women should not participate in religious activities because when they do, very sway. Unfortunately, seriously, it's considered inauspicious for women to be involved. And therefore, they wanted son because your daughter, you can't do a thing, right? You can only produce son, so do your work, you know. That's how the ancient Indian of the day, of the Buddha's day, that's how they thought. So they wanted the boys because only the boys were able to do things for the family, for the religious rites. Buddha not only taught women, Buddha opened the Sangha to women. It would have been the controversy of the century. If they had a century, that would have counted as the century's controversy. Because can you just imagine all the men going, is he crazy? All these women, can you imagine? They're all over the place. It would have been like that, okay? Social outcasts, meaning the lower caste people. People who have breached caste rules, they are mixed. Nobody wants to have anything to do with them. Buddha dealt with them. Servants and slaves. You know, there were many disciples who were actually palace servants. And then they had a hand, interestingly, these palace servants had a hand in influencing their masters. After all, who do you confide? You got no good friends, leh. When you are a palace lady, you don't come out and mingle with the crowd, right? The person that you speak to would be your mate. So the maids were able to influence their mistresses, okay? Okay, this is not speech slow. This is intellectually slow. I didn't want to say other words. There were people. No, you think about it, huh? You ask yourself this. You laugh. You ask yourself this. In your, say your teacher, okay? Let's pretend you're a Dhamma teacher, okay? We'll pretend. And then your class, you say, well, this one cannot make it, right? Cannot understand. I say 10 times, he doesn't understand. What's your instinct? Not to teach. Waste time, don't want to teach, right? Buddha didn't do that. One of his disciples, we all know the famous case, Chulapantaka, the very famous case where he was so slow, it took him 1 month, he couldn't memorize one stanza. 4 lines, he couldn't do it. 1 month. So the brother, his elder brother got fed up, told him, go home. You can't do anything. You can't even learn one stanza. Go home, go home. The poor guy went to the Buddha, very disappointed. He was actually going to the Buddha to say his goodbye. Sorry, Bobs, I have to go. My brother said, I no use here. So ask me to go back late life, and then at least I can serve the Sangha. The Buddha said, no. So give him a piece of white cloth, okay, and asked him to go and face the sun. Morning sun, it's okay, vitamin D. Face the morning sun. Take it and wipe the hair, the sweat of the brow, and then rub this way and go, dirt be gone. Okay? So he did that. He just rub. When he kept doing that, and he kept staring with that white cloth, the white cloth became stained. And as he kept staring at that stain, he realized anicca, impermanence. And with that, he realized the Dhamma. So it was a eureka moment thanks to a piece of white cloth. So don't look down on the white cloth, okay? the moral of the story, buy white cloth. That would have been the wrong story to go off with. Moral story is don't look down on people who seem slower, because Dhamma is not about how smart you are. It's how intuitive wise you are. Okay? And the most celebrated of all, a serial killer. The guy is a serial killer for sure. No matter what story you tell to try and justify this man, he was a serial killer. If you had read the text, the Angulimala text, you will know that when he saw the Buddha, whom he was going to kill, in fact, he was going to make mincemeat out of Buddha, and he was very proud of himself, He was saying, Yuan Fen, he said. You look at the words, that's exactly what he said. This is fake. He's mine. And then you chase after him. He wanted to kill the Buddha. Of course, seriously, how you kill him, right? So he didn't, and then the rest is history. He was converted, became an Arahant later on. But what you don't realize is when this man joined the order, it caused a ruckus. You don't realize it. You all read that story very happy that, he converted a serial killer, well done. The fact is he created a ruckus. The Buddha created a ruckus. The king mobilized his forces to go and capture this killer. The plan is to give him a grand standoff, meaning a public execution of the most gory type. But what did the Buddha do? Admit him into the Sangha. Then after which, the king now has to bow to the serial killer. It's really Bosong, So it is, today when you look at the words, the text, you don't realize the emotion underlying the text because they are so clinical. The words are so clinical. Some of you may even say the words are so boring. I read once, I don't read again. But the reality is, you start to examine those words very carefully, you realize that there is a deeper story there. So this man, people hated him. Seriously, he killed you and he take your thumb. That was his big time. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention his name. His name is Angulimala. He kill you, he takes your thumb. He's not nice. He has, what do serial killers do? They keep souvenirs. What did he do? He kept souvenirs. Yeah, now you know. Okay. The only people the Buddha will not teach are those who were lazy and refused to follow instructions. He told a horse trainer that for these, he will kill them. And the horse trainer died on the spot. I thought you're not supposed to kill? The horse trainer went. And he says, no, it means I won't talk to them, I won't instruct them, I wouldn't teach them. So what is the moral of the story here that we can take away with us? If we were to take an example, and we take Buddha as an example, it means you will teach whoever is willing. And only walk away when they say, I'm not learning from you, go away. There's no point. Don't push. Don't go around and come here like frog gras like that, okay? Shoving it down people's neck. They don't want it. Then just walk away, okay? The method of teaching. The Buddha does not or did not launch into a talk. It wasn't his style. His style was to assess whether people were receptive. Now, our problem for many of us is we don't care whether you're receptive. You come. Then I will jam it down your throat. Also, that's what a lot of us do, No, he didn't. He will get a sense of whether they were ready. And if they were not ready, and he also packed. Some of them, they are ready, but not ready for the more chim stuff. Okay, the more difficult ones. The solid, hardcore Dhamma. So he, siam. Doesn't go into those. He will go into the simpler ones. And this is the way he did it. It's called gradual teaching, gradual learning. He'll talk about dana, generosity. Then he will talk about sila, morality. Then he will talk about the heavens, the way to heavens. Why like this? You see, for many of us, if we were to tell you about giving, giving is a good thing. Giving opens your heart. Giving makes your mind light, and so on and so forth. You listen to that, there is a good, decent chance that if you're a good, decent person, you will hear it, and your heart indeed would get light. So he's preparing your mind to listen to his Dhamma. He gets you happy because there's a very good chance that you just gave. Ancient India, they love to give to the practitioners. They do believe that they will get some returns. So in ancient India, they do enjoy giving. Dana is a popular subject. The second one, Sila. It is an important subject. Sila, just remember this. We look at morality and we give it a passing glance. Yes? How many of you take the 5 precepts seriously? Reciting it before the Buddha, and then after that wonder whether you should smack the mosquito. Huh? And then you go into this philosophical debate why you are trying to tame dengue. So your precepts are what's written, and then you get into all kinds of angst about those. They are words. For you, they are words. They are not something that sinks in and becomes a way of life. So for many of us, some of you are not like that, of course. Some of you are really good people, So we don't talk about you. We talk about the others who are still struggling with all these morality parameters, okay? Now, for these people who are struggling of the morality thing, it is important for them to realize that morality is important. Because their karma, their vipaka, could be quite messy if they don't observe morality. So Buddha was trying to help them. Hence, the third one, he talks about heavens, the way to heavens. How do you become such a good person that your next rebirth is assured? He's gradually taking you to number 4. He's telling you the danger of indulging. And finally, the joy of moderation. This is the practice already. So without even saying, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about the 4 Noble Truths and the 8 Fold Paths. Without even saying that, he's going to take you to the Dhamma. All the way to Dhamma. That's the brilliance of the man. It doesn't say a word. No 4 Noble Truths, 8 Fold Paths. That's like no need to say. He just went into, just remember this. Dana is simple, Sila is obvious, then the way to heaven is to give people joy. Inspiring. The way to hell is not inspiring, it's very scary. So that's why he talks about the way to heaven, not to hell. Way to hell is just not the soft things you talk about, And then you talk about, as I said, the danger of overindulging and moderation. That's Dhamma, that's pure Dhamma. So in one simple process, he takes you through understanding the teachings. And if you happen to run into him, when your mind is nice, soft and open, that's when you enter the stream law. A lot of the people who entered the stream and understood the Dhamma happened, this is where it happened. Then you say, how did it happen? Because the Dhamma is there. The danger of overindulging and the importance of moderation. That's Dhamma. That's pure Dhamma. Okay? And at that point, if you understand him, what happens to your mind stops clinging so tightly. It starts to loosen. Meaning, as part of entering this stream, you have to learn to let go. Okay? And, so first and foremost, sensitive to the moods. He understands when they're ready, he whack. If they're not ready, he sayang. I mean it, People who come to him hungry, eat first. Yeah, he offered them food, which created a bit of a ruckus, by the way, amongst the monk. Because we are monk leh. The monk offered layman food. Huh. So it created, actually, you know that story about how this guy is in the Dhammapada. So you know the story of this guy who went to the Buddha. He spent the whole day looking for his cow, and then he was very tired, he's very hungry. Then the Buddha looked, oh, cannot, you better eat first. That part, that created a bit of a ruckus with the monks because Buddha giving him food? A bit like lopsided, you know? Okay, so that was what happened. But nonetheless, this is what he would do, okay? People who went to him crying, there were many people who went to him sobbing. Mostly women. So, because they lost their kids. You go read Terigata, the songs of the nuns. And so many of them, child mortality must have been very high. Minimally, you can conclude so. And it's reasonable, right? You know, a lot of them are wailing and so forth. And then he would calm them down, tell them some stories, and then they calm down. They calm down enough for him to be able to get through to them. Okay? Okay, no need. Actually, I already explained this, right? Gradual teaching, okay? Now, this one is interesting. You see, the people who went to the Buddha, they fall into two broad categories. There were the masses, and there were the intelligentsia, the thinking people of society. You know, those philosophers, those wanderers of other sects, they were the thinking people, the educated ones. And they would go to him with all kinds of questions. And he had 4 methods of dealing with questions, okay? Sometimes he would answer categorically, meaning to say yes, no, and that's it. Yes, it is like that. No, it is not like that. Sometimes he would even explain, no, there are 4 points, and then he goes into 4 points, all very categorical. Sometimes being categorical doesn't complete the answer, he gives them detail. Lots of details. If you want to go for the detailed ones, go look at Majjhima Nikaya. Majjhima Nikaya, Digha Nikayas, this is where lots of details with regards to a simple question. Sometimes he answers with a question, meaning to say, it's not like this, so what do you think, Buddha? Yeah, what do you think? Not like that really no standard, you know? That may be the way we do it, but not the way he do it, okay? The way he did it would be, you ask him a question, he knew that there is a problem with the question, and what he would do is to then pose this question to the person. Tell me, when you say this, what exactly do you mean? So he get that person to define, to elaborate on his question. So he seek clarification as to what is it exactly you want to know. Okay? So it's not, what do you think? Okay? The last one, he doesn't reply. And this is the celebrated one. This is the one where everybody says, Buddha doesn't reply. There's a reason why he doesn't reply. Okay? What are these questions that he will not reply to? There are 10 of them, broadly 10 of them. It has to do with speculating about the nature of the world, the physical world, the actual physical world. So, is the world infinite? Or is the world permanent? What's the difference? Infinite is space. Does it go on forever? Permanent or not, it's time. Time. Does it exist forever? Not the same, okay? So there's a whole series of infinite, not infinite, neither infinite, not infinite, all kinds of all these things. Then there is another set that deals with the nature of the Buddha's existence after death. People just fixated about what happens to him when he goes. And he won't answer that either. Now, you may ask, why? Why wouldn't the Buddha answer? Quite simple, what? Yes, I exist. No, I don't exist. Maybe, maybe not. Why wouldn't he say something? The reason he wouldn't reply, this one you can't find a text. This is me speculating. I'm speculating on an answer here, okay? I'm speculating on an answer here, and my answer is this. I think the reason why he will not reply is because of the start point. Your starting point in asking a question, yes or no, does the Buddha exist after he dies? What is your starting point? There is something called an essence called Buddha. You already start on the wrong point. You start on the wrong point. What's he supposed to say? Excuse me. Let me explain something. Your starting point a bit off. It is too complex. It is unnecessary. It's irrelevant to the practice. Don't need. When you realize and become an arahant yourself, you got your answer. If you haven't realized and you're not an arahant, you don't deserve the answer. You see what I'm saying? So no point. Okay. Last bit. You may not know this, or you may assume this, that Buddha must have been a very powerful speaker. You may assume it, right? We believe so, and the reason why we think he was so is because of what other people say about him. His own disciples are going to say he's the best speaker in the world, man. Oh, it's the best. His own disciples will say that. But it is members of other sects, people from other sects. Why do you want to debate with him if he were useless as a speaker? If you were the most celebrated speaker of your all-time favorite, your national debating champion, are you really going seriously to go and debate with someone who is really nobody? He can't speak for nuts. He stammers through his sentences. But I must go debate him, You won, right? If you were the national debater champion and all, you are going to pick the best man and fight him. Because when you win, you not only champion national, you champion international. You see what I'm saying? And these guys will go after the Buddha. The fact that they went after him, wanting to debate with him, must mean that he got some standard. Okay? Fair. It's circumstantial evidence, but it's fair. It's a fair point. So he must have been really, really quite impressive. Secondly, the kind of people he was able to draw. We will talk about a bit more about that later. But given the kind of people he was able to draw, he cannot have been a nobody. If you were a nobody, could you possibly draw, the kings of the land? Not possible. The kings of the land wouldn't have smelled you. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Buddha, famous for using visual aid. That's why it's up there, visual aid. I learned from the Buddha, He will use visual aid literally. He will, when he's talking to his disciples, and he will say things like, compared to all the leaves here, then you pull out some leaves. He say, how much leaves are there here compared to all these leaves? And then the disciple dutifully, your hand is obviously just a handful, and the forest a lot more. And then you say, the kind of things that I'm teaching you is comparable to this amount. The sort of things that I know is this amount. So I'm only giving you enough for you to realize Nibbana. That would have been an impact. So we are going to look for leaves, look for trees. Not just that, there were so many people in his time when they, in their own practice, when they ran into trouble, the Buddha would give them visual aid. You remember the guy with the cloth, that white cloth? Well, there was another one with flower. This man, again, he was very disillusioned. He was sure he couldn't see Dhamma. He was sure. So because he felt so disillusioned, he felt so disappointed with himself, he went to tell the Buddha he had to go. Why was that? Originally, he was given the usual object for meditation. What's the usual object for meditation? A corpse. They each have their own corpse. Okay, maybe they don't have a personal corpse, but their job is to go look at decaying bodies. So this poor man, day after day, he went to look at decaying bodies, and then he got really upset and his mind couldn't settle. So eventually he gave up. He told the Buddha he had to go home. He couldn't do it. Buddha said, give him a rose. Flower. Lotus. It was a lotus, not rose. Buddha gave him a lotus, a bit more spiritual, right? He gave him a lotus and told him, just look at it. Don't have to do anything, just look at it. So he went, he sat there, he stared, and Buddha kind of speed up the process of decay. It's still decay, but it was the decay of something beautiful. He got it. As he was looking, the mind settled, it became calmer. He could look at the lotus, and he realized change, impermanence. At the end of it, death. So he realized. Now, there were many monks who were told to go to the graveyard and look at corpses. There was a whole bunch of monks who went to visit the Buddha, thinking they had realized. You see, they also can be deluded, you know. They were sure they will realize. They went, let's go report to Buddha, Arahan. Buddha said, don't let them come near me, just ask them to go to the cemetery. That's what, seriously, he told Ananda, don't let them come near me, go ask them to go to the cemetery. So they all dutifully trooped to the cemetery, got a shock of their life. Because when they look at the corpse, they are not neutral. There was aversion, there was lust, okay. There were feelings, okay. And they were shocked that they were not realized. And as they were looking at that, the Buddha told them, this is the consequence of life. Just look at it decaying right before your very eyes. And then they realized. So there were all these examples, lots and lots of examples of using visual aid. Similes, very powerful. Why? Because Dhamma is very obscure. It's very sublime. How to explain Dhamma? Not easy. Very difficult. So in order to explain certain concepts, the Buddha will use either similes or analogies from people's life. If the monks or the practitioners of the day were bakers or hunters, he would literally use hunting analogies for them. Something they are familiar with so that the points which are obscure come alive for them. It's easier for them to understand. So you will notice if you had studied the suttas, that there were many farming analogies. Why farming? Ancient India was a farming community. Lots and lots of farmers. And, they would understand how you till the field, how you marshal buffaloes, right? Buffaloes along. March the buffaloes along and so on and so forth. Okay, so that was him being a very effective speaker. We know that he was very successful. Evidence. We know that the number of monks grew into the thousands. We know that. How do we know that? You will find that in the suttas, the king himself, in Rajagaha, saying that in Rajagaha there were, and it's not a round number, it's one of those numbers like 1,263. It's one of those numbers which is not a round number. The round number will be 500. If they say 500, you know it's a lot, but nobody counted. But here the king said there were like 2,000 something or other. So because it's not a round number, there is a very high chance that that's a real or somewhat approximating a real number. There were at least 2,000 monks living in Rajagaha. It's not funny. Okay? And that is only Rajagaha. Rajagaha is a capital of a very prominent kingdom. And we know they spread across several places. His teaching started in this little place, Uruwela, and Isipatana, Benares. That was where it started. And then it kind of went into Rajagaha, and then eventually went to Kosala, Sawati, and then it kind of spread all over the place. Northeast India. That was the space that he was operating in. The people who were his biggest patrons were literally the political and business elite of society. Why is this important? If it were not for money and power, you think the faith can spread this far? Through the centuries, there is no way a faith can spread, a teaching can spread, without the backing of the elite of society. And this is the point I want to make. The young, the best and the brightest were drawn towards the Buddha. Why? Because in his time, his teaching was considered very, very ahead of time. They've never heard of it before. They found that it helped to solve their immediate mental problems, issues. You see, like it or not, the young, best and brightest are the ones with problems. They're the ones with angsting away, because the mind works so fast, right? You remember when you were young and among the best and brightest, you were restless also, ma? No? No, you were never brightest or best brightest. You see, this is a problem, huh? When you were young and you were you are intelligent, clearly there was a period of restlessness. There was a period you went in search. And you came this way, so you found this teaching. In the time of the Buddha, it was the same. There were all kinds of people having all kinds of problems, checking out all kinds of teachers and trying to understand all kinds of doctrines. Normal. But Buddha was able to bring the best. And they were the best. Because if you look at the Arahants, right, the names of the Arahants, they were amongst the richest in society of the time. Okay? But there were tough times, very difficult times. It's a zero-sum game. Whatever that Buddha gained is a loss for some other school or sect or teacher. So he got into all kinds of trouble. His life reads like a Korean drama. Episode 33, frame for this, Episode 45, slandered for that. Episode 79, targeted for assassination and so on and so forth. So all kinds of things. His poor Sangha was split, almost torn apart in the ninth year. In the ninth year, by the 60 years old, 35 years, 35th, 62, 8 years before the end, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 36. 36. 36th year of the dispensation, it almost tore apart. It split completely. Devadatta came along and took out one chunk. That was not funny. You think that, Buddha was there. The point is, Buddha was there. And it split. You see what I'm saying? You say, Buddha was there, no problem. Buddha was there, it split. Did you see how bad it went? And for the people of the day, it was scary. Because they will be saying, Buddha's still here and it's split, and Buddha's so old, not going to be here forever. Problem. So there's a lot of fear in the time. For sure, there were a lot of fear. And they were really evil. They killed Moggallana. Why did they kill Mahamoggallana? Because Mahamoggallana was the psychic man. He's foremost of those with psychic powers. And you will say, so he got a lot of disciples. People love a good psychic show, So if you want to practice, there's a good chance that there will be many who will be interested in him, learning from him. He was a powerful draw. Okay. Now, end of life. By the end of life, he had clearly had a very successful run. How do we know that? Because people fought for his relics. If he hasn't had if he were not so prominent a teacher in his time, why would they give him royal treatment? The manner in which his body was treated was reserved for royalty. Today, you read and get the impression that Buddha asked for royal treatment, right? Because Buddha say, you're supposed to wrap it in don't know how many layers of white cloth and cotton, fresh cotton, okay? Newly imported from Benares type. Fresh cotton, wrapped it, do this, do that. You will think that he asked for it. But if he were, two things. One, he actually did ask, which I don't believe, but assuming he actually did, people want to give you a nod. You're not prominent, people will give you a nod. You want royal treatment, you have to have some standing, right? Odds are he didn't ask for it. The odds are he didn't ask for royal treatment. And they gave it to him. Because his disciples, his followers, numbered that many and probably very rich and powerful. So they wanted the best for their teachers. These people were deeply devoted to him, okay? The devotion is tremendous. Because if they had followed the Dhamma, they would have gained the sense of joy. You read Dhamma today, and sometimes you get into this spasm of joy, right? Do it in front of the Buddha. Can you imagine the joy? So given that kind of emotions, naturally, they were falling over each other, trying to demonstrate that love, and the affection, and so on and so forth. Okay. Result of which was there were at least 8 ruling families that fought over relics. What the record showed was 8 of them came, including, this interesting part, including Ajatasattu, the king of the most powerful kingdom of the day. Was Ajatasattu, and he came fighting for a relic, a share of that relic. His own Sakyans came. The fact that there was a tribe from his own family. In fact, both sides of the family, his mummy's side and his daddy's side both came. Okay? The Koliyas and the Sakyans both came. So that was quite nice. Why was he important? Because without the Buddha, there would have been no Dhamma. Fair? No one would have been able to teach Dhamma the way he did. No one could have been able to understand the Dhamma. You see, we all know that Dhamma it's very difficult to see. We all know that. If you don't know that, now know it. It's very difficult to understand. Just to understand conceptually, we are not even seeing yet. We haven't got to the state where you see Dhamma. We are at the state where we conceptually understand Dhamma. And if I were to ask you, question, what is Dhamma? The odds are, start scratching my head. Wait, let me think. What did Narada say? So, even to just understand it conceptually is tough. He did it without a roadmap. I've always said this. He did it without guidance. No one helped him. He figured it out himself. We have his Dhamma as a guide, and we figure until don't know where. You see how tough it is? Okay, so he figured out on his own. Second, now that you figured it out, right? Now that you know what it is, teach. And you really will scratch your head. How do you teach some? It is like saying, how do you teach someone? Say you teach someone who is depressed how to be happy. There you go, okay, a bit of a tall order. Someone's depressed. He's never been happy in his entire life. He's never been happy in his entire life. Teach him to be happy. Then you really scratch your head, okay? Can't even draw on some examples. So just a second. Teaching Dhamma is tough. What is third? Third is giving a DIY methodology. It's DIY, you know. I give you the methodology, you go figure it out yourself. Because he's not around anymore. So now I have an eightfold path. His DIY is actually eightfold path. Then you say, Sime, maybe eightfold path is it. Yeah. Eightfold path is it. That's the method. And that's the method that works. It runs by itself. How do we know? He said it. In the last lecture that he gave, one of the very last things he said, as long as there is the eightfold path, in that school, if there is an eightfold path, there will be Aryas. As long as that school has the eightfold path, there will be Aryas. Meaning to say the method. As long as they use the method, in that school, it will work. They will see the Dhamma. They will realize the Dhamma. If there isn't this eightfold path, then there isn't realization. Okay? So, to recap, just this point alone, he realized it on his own. He has to because no one else did and no one else could. So, he realized it on his own. He came up with a method of teaching and the method can survive him. 2,500 years later, the method is still with us. That's the impressive part. Okay? If it didn't work for us, it's not his fault. I just want to make that point clear. Don't blame the poor teacher for our own limitations. Okay? I was polite, and I could have said inadequacy. Limitation is a much nicer word. Huh? Okay, so without him, there is no realization of how the mind works and thus no way out. This is not repetition. Let me explain this sentence properly. They are not the same. Realizing how the mind works doesn't mean you know how to get out. Right? I know how the mind works. So, doctor whatever, so clever. Knowing how something works doesn't make you a problem solver, in other words. But there is no way you can solve the problem if you don't know how it works. Agree? So this is actually two parts. What you want is the way out of dukkha. What you have to do is to understand how the mind works. Once you understand how it works, then you got a remote chance. No, must be more inspiring than that. You have a great chance of figuring the way out. Okay? With a bit of an exaggeration, you have a decent chance, a reasonable chance of figuring the way out. This is important. Huh? You know how it works, you got chance to get out. You don't know how it works, forget it. Next time we meet again. Okay, it will be like that. Last point. At the end of the day, you still need people who figure it out. People who took the map, figure out how to read the map. The Dhamma is the map. Figure out how to read that map, and then decide that, okay, now that I kind of figured it out, I better start helping the next person to figure out how to read the map. Okay, this is the latitude, this is the longitude, this is all the degree and all those things. This is North Pole. The person, there has to be people who kind of know how it works and then try and guide the next person on how to read the map. That's all they can do. They can't read that map for you. If you are dyslexic, there's nothing they can do. They can only help you in terms of figuring out the clues. And if you can, you put in the effort, and this is what you have to tell yourself. They can do it, I can do it. The problem is people will just go, they can do it, but not me. When you say it like this, finish. Because you put a cap on your abilities. Okay? So, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Buddha, the man who discovered it. Dhamma is the map. Sangha is the one who figured it out. And then now try and keep it alive. That's the essence of the Triple Gems. Now, I will just conclude. You see, Buddha was a man. He was no more than a man. He was a great man, unique in history. But over time, very grateful, the gratitude was immeasurable. All these people who were around him eventually, not around him, they were subsequent disciples, they began to build a kind of a personality cult around him. And within decades, just decades after his death, the idea of him being more than a man, being divinity, started to surface. The scholars knew that. If you go into the world of academia and read the books written by scholars as they trace the history of Buddhism, they will be able to tell you roughly around what period the idea of him being a god, I mean not god but divinity, started surfacing in the big way. It's there. You look at the evidence, it's there. Before, at a certain time, he was a man. Eventually, he was more than that. And it get more and more and more. So the idea started evolving. It's all there. Go to the text, go into academia, you'll start to find the evidence for that. Anyhow, for our practice, because this is about us walking the path ourselves, for our practice, we want to know the method. So for the next 9 lectures, the next 9 lectures, it will be on the method. No, 9 on the method. The first one is this one, 9 others is on the method. The last one is on realization. What it means, how it happens, what does it look like. Okay?